I think we want to cover today on the Visualforce pages and controllers. So prior to this, I think we were able to do some test cases and test classes on for the actual Apex class which you're writing it. So few conditions, terms, and then points to remember we have done with the part one class, and then part two yesterday we have uploaded. So those part two class explaining about how do we consume the for the exposing service, how to write a test class and how to write a test factory. Test factor is something that where you write a couple of methods to reuse them in every test classes to create some dummy data. We use test factor, test total, and in the original test classes, what we have done is we use other setup. So in other setup, what we're doing is we are trying to create some data using the factory test factory util. So that such a setup methods would be whatever the data you create will be available only for that particular test class. Any method in that particular test class can query the record which you created and then act upon that. And you can modify the data, you can update the data, whatever you want. Just like as you're trying to do in real-time Apex classes. Now that flexibility is given in test class also. So where you try to create data in and then setup using utility classes. So how do I return utility classes? I'll quickly give a overview. So you will have a part 3 class also. And the part 3 classes explains about how do we consume the service. Um, for example, this is the export service if you return. Not to cover this export service. Mhm. Restaurant export service test. So now if you see here, there's a static void setup method. In the setup method, we're trying to create some data. So the data if you see test util class dot create account. I need to set how many records I want, what are the record type, and name of the account, and if any parent ID required, so present or ID should be null. Now the test util class what will have is so I have written simple method here which accepts few things like number, record type, account name, and parent ID. So based on this, I can insert the record type dynamically, whether it is restaurant or individual or business customer. And the name I can take it here, and the parent ID is required. Whether should I pass this parent ID for this record or not? Why? Because all the individual and business customers would have reported to their nearest restaurant. So this indicates the restaurants. And sometime when I pass the restaurant record type ID, so I don't have any parent ID for it. Though I have to report to another branch. So like that it is. So it depends like what to try to test data here. Same way. So here I passed record type as a restaurant, and here I pass as individual customers record type. So two different types of accounts I created. So where I'm saying the restaurant who should be my parent record here. That's the reason we have chosen this record and we used it. Hey, now you can see me. So we are not inserting anything here. We have a method that returns some records, and those records only we're trying to insert here. We just creating such methods to prepare some data and send back to us. We will insert the data here in setup. So the meaning of this is useful in we can query the records like these and test classes, test methods. So what are the records that it's going to give is whatever the records you inserted, it allows those to query here. Let's say for example, 2 to 4 records you inserted. 4 records it allows to query. And moreover, if you put a filter like this, like I want restaurant type records only, then how many records you inserted? 2 records. So 2 records you can get it here. Based on the 2 records are playing here, and we're returning a real-time service like get the code number, like say restaurant number, and hit the get service. So rest exposes dot go get method is the one which we have used. Go get method. So this class name dot method name I used. So that is actually sending me a list of accounts. Correct, right? This method is what it is doing. It's sending a list of accounts. See, so the return type of this is list of accounts. I've put it here. So this is good for when you expose a service and you test the service. Now, when you consume a service, something like this, where we have a zip code we've written, where we trying to connect to some third party, where the endpoint is zip code endpoint we have, and the API also should be dynamic. Okay, anyway, that is fine. So this endpoint is dynamic. We will try to construct the dynamic endpoint and we send it, right. So this is going from Salesforce to outside some environment and we're getting it. So whereas this, we are testing the internal service which has been exposed by us. Um, so how do we test something like this? So we have tried to sysintellior to write a test case against the class that we written there. So either there or else you try to write a test classes like same approach what we're trying to do in here in zip code, because this guy also is trying to consume someone's third party service. Okay, this I will cover in part 3. How do we consume the service? Otherwise, I think if you go to the part 2 video, majority will understand trial and errors, how we are achieving it. So why it should throw an error, all that majority cases we covered there. And trust me, if going through part 1, part 2, part 3, you would be good enough to handle normal classes, um, batch classes, future classes, or writing and exposing a service like expose service or import or consuming a service. So majority are these are the areas that we are trying to focus on to cover the test classes. All that would be a part of advanced concepts. So any concepts that you write in future, part of the real-time project which you work. So these all would be helpful for sure. I mean writing a test classes. So till today, they all follow the same ideology in terms of trying to create test data. So one more method we have to create a test data. So I'll include that. That's recently Salesforce given to us. Create test data um, using schema. So this is the one. Let's schema in Salesforce. So this is one which I newly found, where people are trying to create a generating data, loading test data, generating a test data for the unit test. Let me see this. Somewhere I saw that the schemas based they are trying to create the data generation. Hmm. And these are normal test classes that what we return. I send some number based on that we'll try to get some records. This is a very generic case. I think this is not test setup method. No, I think I will explain that. It's a very interesting one. We try to use even there also we try to use a test util method. How do we send the data and how do we use it in setup? So one of the area that will tell you that's the most advanced way of trying to create a test data. So in a few majority of a project will have like this. So I have written something like schema based writing data. Why? Because the very beginning, if I say that type of a concept, maybe in your personal org which you trained out this, I mean you have to go step by step. So how a normal test class we write, how a util class we write, how to use a setup, and then you can come to the advanced where the people are using schemas. So that way, when you go to a project or somewhere, so beating a 5 years experience, how do you show it up? So you need to know all the people, all the pieces. So some from where you started, everything should be there. So directly jumping into advanced also sometimes you may not be able to crack or some test class which is failing. Uh, the moment when you join a project, someone would have existingly people have written 2 3 years back, and that test class something would be like this. So you have to fix them. So ideally, this debugging skill also is required. So I just have put all across. So we have to go step by step to mind on that. So part 3 would be having onto that context. So I'll be closing there in the part 3 context of what the majority test case that we have to have. And also for Also, one more point very important is we have to have asset statements, system.assets. Of course, what you are expecting, what is the actual results, so that should match. So we say right, LHS is equal to RHS. So your expectations you will be giving and what is the outcome that we get, both should match. Such asset methods in your test classes is more valid, and only then we call that particular test class as a best class. I mean best practice follow test class. Okay, so that is something on to the overall test coverage which I wanted to highlight here. So now why we come up with the visual force and control resist in dev class. So we didn't cover much on this. So what is like a page? We say this as an MVC. Because what you got or you got a chance in to work on to the MVC type of framework.
Yeah, MVC architecture we got.
Hmm.
Model view and controls.
Yeah. So in Salesforce we say the same. The model is something that we refer to a database always. So we say objects here. So the object could be standard or custom object. So standard custom objects in Salesforce is referred to a models. And then for a view, we say it's a view. It always meant to be an UI. So I would say this is as VF page. We will exactly write something similar to HTML code. Of course, you can fit HTML codes into a VF page, but a VF page will have syntax. Will have own syntax. Okay, model view, and then control is something that we have. Is where you write a logic here or a business control or business logic, whatever you can call it. And of course, they also divide into standard and custom. So if you wanted to extend the standard, you have extension, standard extension. For again, for custom also you have an extension. What is extension? So generally you write a class, right? So you also try to extend the class, like how inheritance we use it. Inheritance is something you have a parent class. You can also have child classes. So like this extension also we have. So standard class plus extension also we have. Standard extension it is called as. I would write it here as standard extension. Custom also we have plus custom extension. So however it is you're trying to do an extension means you're trying to extend few features of this class, whatever you have. For example, standard has a save, edit, delete, whatever you have. You can extend the standard features of this into a standard extension. Same way, custom class, you are absolutely writing a custom class. That means something you're not utilizing the standard features. While doing that, custom means what? Obviously, they are by default we say it is absolutely custom code we are written. Even for that such custom code, you can have an extension. How many extensions you can have? We can have up to 5 extensions. For extension class, I mean that means you can have one parent and 5 different childs you can have, and they all execute from the order of execution from left to right. So how you mention it? So left to right. So I'll tell you how that we all do it. But understand this all visual first page is all page centric development. So VF is something we call as page centric development. Now if you go to Aura, so that is something app centric development. It lacks like a single page application. But in VF page, it's a page centric development, and it's not it's not an SPA single page application. It cannot be done. Now, example of SPA, you can say example of SPA are you can say Gmail, So Apex Lightning, sorry, SF Lightning experience. So why do you say the Lightning experience? Look at this if you have opened already. So I have the screens opened here, header, footer, everything is here. Look at this, the way that we control here, it is not harming the entire page. And I click on one place, so that is not again harming the your header bar which is open here. So you click where it should be open, there it is trying to open it. Now the same way also the Gmail, you try to open it. You specifically click on the inbox. Only the inbox mails have been keeping opened, and then that particular area only the area that which refreshes is only the certain boundary where your layout has been designed. Otherwise, your header or the sidebar or something else which you won't load. Often it doesn't load. So that means you are in a single page application where who has to get refreshed that we are very concerned about and not the entire page. But VF is not like that. So the moment you try to load, the whole page should be refreshed. For example, let's go to a classic development. Switch to classic. Classes tend to be a Visualforce type of development which is done. Let's say if I open a position layout, so the entire page got loaded. If I open a reports, the entire page gets loaded. To see this, we assume that the no header is loaded, but actually they are loading it. But it's happening in a very faster moment. But anyway, this is our classic UI we have. If you write a VF page and one page to another page when you want to navigate and drive, it's of course they're page centric, and so they can't act like an SPA. So guys, do you get into this point? If someone asks you why a Visualforce page, the development that we're not carrying in Salesforce FC, of course they are page centric applications. You have to have a connectivity between one page to another page. That's how we move our direct navigation from that, how it's happened. And they are not to be specific on SP application, or they're not app centric. Always they deal with the page centric. How I connect from one page to another page, or how do I redirect from this particular page to another record. So that is all they are worried about.
A quick question. I'm getting this host disabled participant screen sharing message continuously. Are you
Is it? What is a disabled person?
okay? Maybe my got some problem with my laptop. Look like okay, that's fine. Go ahead, no problem.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay. Um,
What is the standard extension means?
so
Oh, you could explain later or
yeah, we have to explain later. Something this is
okay.
you have an account class, and then you extend the features of this account. That is something. Account is a standard object, and for the standard object, you're trying to do an extend activity. See, when I talk about an object, so it comes as a bundle. It comes with the layout. It comes with the fields. So the moment you try to create an object, you can feel it, right? So it will come with such a bundle. Okay, let me. So where I was into page centric. Let me finish up this. I'll come there. Um, so
Okay, no
VFA,
problem.
yeah, VFA. I was saying it's a page centric development, and it's not SPA. Not SPA in the sense it's not a single page application. I was giving example of Gmail and Lightning experience. Okay, then. So where exactly VF pages are used? Whenever you're dealing with one page to another page connectivity, like say community cloud, where people wanted to have their login screen, enter the username and a password, and then they land to the landing page, and you do a couple of activity there, and then you have some articles to read through. You wanted to order something, you can order there, um, and then finally you wanted to log out, so you log out there. So now each and everything that you have, so this also could be overall can be built in the Lightning experience or Lightning components, or they can also have the option of having pages, one page to another page. How do you connect with? And every page they will have associate controllers, and that's how they're helping us. Is an MVC where they call controllers, they call UI page, and then the business logic they written. If you are okay with this, then how do you proceed to the next page? Something like the redirection happens. So let's say login name, username, and a password. If it is correct, I'll land to the landing page. That's a redirection. If something is wrong, so I would look back to the same page and say that this is something else error and give the valid password. So this type of what do you say? All page-centric activity we do in Visualforce pages. So now, while talking about this, VF I said is a standard we have and a custom we have. Um, we'll look into the real-time code and show you. Then you will get it more. And of course, if you wanted to make VF page as an SPA, yes, of course you can do it. Forcefully, you can do it. Making VF page developments to SPA is possible. Yes, yes, it's possible. But how? Yes, it's possible. How? We we need to use um, third party to achieve this. So why we say third party frameworks to achieve this? That is JavaScript library. For example, so we say Angular is an SPA, it does an activity of SPA, or jQuery is helping to do an activity of SPA. So then all these guys can be used here. You can use React, you can use React, you can use any JavaScript framework. We can simply use it in VF pages. All you have to need to upload is your library. So it's our in that we have to deal this code completely and we have to handle them. Angular also can use it and so on. Can be as many frameworks that we can use it. So where you are forcibly using the third party framework and you're writing some code aligning with what they can do it. So it's just like flatly you're writing an HTML page and then you are having the HTML page as a few controllers, JavaScript controllers. Using the controllers, how do you navigating from one page to another page? And you can make something like the UI is like this, something like this. And a page inside this will keep changing and your header will not change. You're making as a fixed header. So your template, your JavaScript frameworks, all that you're relying on making some VF pages looking like an SPA. But what is the disadvantage if you know tedious? I mean, too many codes you have to write it to it. Yes, of course, I have worked in such projects also where I had a jQuery inside that, and so where community pages we have couple of logics on the Visualforce pages. I mean, too many things we have to write there, and overall that looks like an SPA. To do this, lot of resources required, like say your Angular or jQuery, whatever you written. So they should be having all the data. How do you pass and move from one to other methods? All we have to keep, invoking them because you move from one page to another page, and we don't load the header. We load only the content which is required. So extensive code is there in this. One disadvantage is extensive code. Sorry, disadvantage. This is cons. Pros, of course. Where you try to have a single page to page connectivity, which is like early type of web development. We have page to page development only, so SPA very less they had it. So cons, I would say extensive code is required for this. And then what if, so this third party frameworks, third party JavaScript frameworks, upgrades. So if they try to upgrade and their version getting changed, will have an impact to our, will have an impact to our existing whatever the logic built. Because some framework that you made and again have to re-upload the framework, or what happens, something is got depreciated and then that particular method that we're using extensively, then you have to keep always aligning with some third-party JavaScript framework you have to rely on. So whatever they do, you have to keep changing into the Visualforce page, where actually this Visualforce page and all the Salesforce development you're doing it, but we are relying on someone still on to third parties. All this been crazy thing happening is because we don't have a proper JS framework. So then Salesforce came up with the concept of we must have the Salesforce JS framework. We need to have like how other guys like Angular, React, they're having it. So then thereof Aura framework the people have introduced, and this typically works like other guys. How an Angular or jQuery the people would work. So Salesforce introduced JS framework to the market. Maybe in early 2014 they have introduced. So 2013, 14 they have introduced the JS framework. And again, this framework is just to suffice on the current time and needs of the people. Again, in later stage of maybe this is early 2013 to 14 somewhere they have introduced this, and 3 years before maybe Salesforce again introduced LWC. So again, I think this is in the mid of 2018. So dates, if you see here and there, it will be a year difference, but not too much. So 2018 and 17, they have introduced the LWC framework. And again, what is this holding? So this is having, um, actually, they would have been focused on this, but as they, I mean, what is it? Which they carry the development, they have to have one JS framework from a Salesforce side. So very quickly they try to have to build this Aura and then bring it up to the market. So again, Aura it has its own disadvantage, like maybe complex structures or complex loading UIs. They were failing it. I mean, not failing. It's just like loading time. It was taking a lot of time. And again, here also people started writing bunch of codes. So Salesforce thought that how do we minimize the code? Our intention is to minimize the code. Where LWC came in picture, where they are trying to do a minimal activity. And if you try to write a logic of huge also, so the performance is really good onto the LWC. Performance of loading LWC is great because the LWC framework has been written such a way that it something like all this type of frameworks, whatever they do, all can be what to say combined here. Not like combined, so they have the most structured way of approach. So any people writing today writing on the JavaScript, so they all follow the same paradigm. It's been posted from the um, ELSlint or a JavaScript committee. People has to follow this type of JavaScript structures. Everyone has to follow. If everyone is following the same structure, if everyone following the same J structure, it's easy. Anyone can code. AngularJS jQuery structure of the JavaScript, which ELSLint they provided, and the LWC framework that the code which you're writing. So all would be having same type of structures to deal with. So they have simple HTML, simple JS, and simple CSS, and the same this been followed by across all the peoples. Now, if someone people writing a code onto the LWC, or people are writing some Angular code and they want to switch to the carrier to LWC, they can do it because structure is same. So that is the reason where anyone can adopt to the LWC. So it was not so easy for Aura, it's not easy for the VF page because everyone have their own structure. For React, their own structure, calling a simple methods or calling the UI. For Angular, it's different. So like these people are bound to with the different frameworks and they have their different logics. Now, if I wanted to learn something, I have to go start from scratch, and to understand the cons and pros, it'll take a lot of time. Even for the Aura framework, this like how these guys are having the same type of framework we've been built here. Now, anyone wanted to learn from Aura or sorry AngularJS to framework Aura, so again they have to restructure and learn from the beginning. So to all eradicate this, they have come up with the a very good approach, having similar structures for across all the type of frameworks, and then anyone can move around between the technologies that we hold, and that was the best in Salesforce that we have introduced, and also the JavaScript committee has been like, recommended for the same. So then we have LWC in the market, and thereafter the LWC what has been introduced maybe have advanced version in this, but not they will not get rid of this. So at least this will go for some years. They might bring it up another feature and something else, but something tied up to this LWC only, they will try to bring it up. But some, I mean, they will not try to break such thing because they've got the common structure. So this is the ultimate thing which we require. So I think all we have gone through: why VF page, why not VF page, and who are the other guys who have been in the market and who is currently holding the stake of it. Now, how people are using the VF pages to generate the PDF? Still, we don't have an option in the Salesforce Lightning experiences. Still, VF page is the only guy who can generate the PDF, so that he can do it. Now, let's say simply we can create a code snippet. How do we run the VF page? And my ultimate goal, on that day we were doing it, right? So go to paint and yeah. So I want to make some call out in the custom class, and you have a restaurant UI number. You hit it, and you have to fetch the customers in real time. So how do we achieve this UI? The same UI we're gonna write it in all the three technologies that we are writing for the UI stuff, BF or LWC. So then we are good with our use case where we can transform from or migrate from one skill to another skill, so that you can real time see here. Because many projects you have, so it'd be migration projects also. They say that from Aura to LWC are doing a migration. Way back, so all the VF pages based on the project they were migrating to the Aura. So I will been part of that. So again now from Aura to LWC people are getting migrated. So you have to see that how this all been used in one place. Hmm. Okay, now let's say start with the VF page, basic standard controller. So we say it's a standard controller, VF page. Actually, we don't write any class for this. Standard controller, specifically we say standard controller, we don't write a controller for this VF page. So let me show you. So let's quickly go to our R and go to Visualforce pages. I can start with the hello one. So don't do anything, let's just quickly save it. So now try to prove it. So you got this message. This is your new page. In a classic development, we can hide the header, footer, whatever not we what what we don't we can build everything there. But when it comes to Lightning experience, when we wanted to preview them, so let's move from the switch to Lightning experience. Now, if I preview them, so this is how it comes through in Lightning experience. See, in Classic, we are still showing this. We don't have been header, we don't have been sidebar, everything it was putting there only. We don't have any conditions to hide them. But in Lightning experience, the moment you try to open, so just open the flat your page in the first line. So all they have had hidden it. So okay. So this is a simple VF page which I wanted to write it. Let me save this. And I want to write another VF page. So because I don't want it to mess up with hello world. So I'm gonna give new. And I'm gonna give here as an account page. I'm just writing simple an account page. Let's throw all of this. So Muti, did you get any idea of, or so Kumar, did you get any so Visualforce cheat sheet which I sent? Maybe not now, sometime back.
Yeah, I think you sent one last time.
I don't know that. Did you send email?
Okay, I'll forward to you.
Okay.
So that has a bunch of cheat sheet. It is a
Okay.
quick, basically we can say it as a quick reference to whatever that we build, be it from admin development, what will we've gone through so far. So entire thing we have a cheat sheet. So I'll forward to you.
Okay. I think I didn't get it.
Okay. So that indicates we have, even for the Visualforce page, we have few tags that has been explained there. What is that Apex colon BF page is doing, and something like that. What are the other specific UI tags that we have to remember? Quick remember, because if we go today in Visualforce, we go to Visualforce page development. So Visualforce, they have their their own things. Visualization supports is all a theory thing. So standard controller with the Visualforce page. So we also have the Apex pages. Standard controller is equal to any object name or stand object name which you mentioned. This all comes to the stand controller. So what I'm trying to say is this is a syntax that we have. Look at this. We do not write any controller for this, but itself is a controller. I'll tell you. We don't write controller for this, I said. So standard controller is equal to this. It's for custom object. Same thing you can write for account, something like this. Record it, yeah.
Yeah, if you can see.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is this is the standard controller. For standard controller, when we write, I don't write any specific Apex class. We don't write any Apex controller for this VF page. Why? Because the themselves is um, an object, which every object which is holding. Uh, what I understand is every object there is internally there are an Apex class for it. You try to create an object, you have been said to be created an object, but parallelly inside that what we have is we have a page has been getting created, we're getting a fields, we're getting a button layouts, we're getting few actions for it. It's just like overall a bundle being created. So I was saying that at the very beginning. So when you create a new object or an existing object which you see, you can see whole bundle. Let's go to that. So when you go to the object manager, you can see them. Every object when I open, you can see as a bundle there. So I'm going to go first for the account object, which is out of box stand object we have. So all these options on the left hand side, which you see, it's like a bundle, right? They have fields, they have layouts. Fields indicates what? Database, object, or table fields we have here. There's an object name is nothing but table name. Fields are nothing but the rows and fields relationship that which you hold. Page dot nothing but the UI which you have. And this for UI for the record pages that we use. And buttons, all these links indicates an actions where you try to edit, create new, delete. This all an action is tied up to this particular layout which you do it for this particular table. So this compact layout when you open in a mobile, how it should do it. So fields that how repeatedly we add all the fields and reuse them. What are the limits that we have? For a record like this type of pages, can I have a different versions of a process where if you click this, I'll open to that page. Where if you click the second option, like through another page. So all this again record type UI navigates happen. So search layout. So searching layout, what are the fields I should display? What are the different way I have to show the UI to you on search? And extending some features of the existing table, writing some triggers, and you're stopping something that's saying, hey, this possible if you do, I won't allow you to save it, or allowing you to save it, like validation rule. So all this is, I assume it is like a bundle. So they themselves have the UI, they themselves have the controller. So it's been like a big vast information we have on every object. So that's the reason we write a standard controller is equal to the object name, because this itself has a bundle of things here. When you directly simply call the account. When you want to say something specifically in extension is equal to some apex class xyz, right? And that you mentioned here. So why we write this apex class is something which is not possible by the existing system. You're writing the extension of this particular class to some ABC new class that you're creating it. So what you're going to have is some extended features of this account. You're going to write it here. For example, on save, you don't have a control because that is a default save which you have. But you're saying that I wanted to verify that this ABC has been filled up, only then I'll allow you to save it. So then extend the feature of the save method here, of the save of the account to here. So then we are writing some extension class. So this is also standard control only, because any object like standard object or custom object, all that will to have a bundle, which is something like Apex class also they'll have. Let's go to object manager. Now go to any custom object. These are custom object stuff. See whatnot. Here also we have fields, layouts, and buttons, every action that we have. If you simply click on actions, you'll see clone, delete, edit, list, update, view. So this is all, each and everything is indicating an action. How can an action be performed? Something like in the background, they should have Apex classes written for this, an object. So that's the reason I'm saying every time when you create an object, it's a whole bundle being created. So we see only the UI. Maybe at the background, they generate new classes for this. So that's the reason you just simply giving a standard control is equal to that object name. Is getting this? So in that case, you need not to write save, edit, delete, whatever it is. It's already in pre-built in. It's already there in inbuilt to this particular way. You call this control is equal to this. And you're not satisfied with what existing have. You wanted to extend the feature, like how parent and child class. You can have an extension. In this extension class, we have some syntax to follow. If you follow that, I think the entire account it can be extended with this some other ABC class that we're using it. And I said the extension can be have up to 5 levels. So ABC1, so 2, 3, and 4, and 5th class. Up to 5 classes you can have it. 5 children, 5 child classes you can think. It goes from left to right. So that way 5 classes they can have. Order of execution goes from account, class 1, class 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can have by commas separated. I can have as many classes like up to 5. Okay. So let's preview the basic version of the account object which we are trying to do here. I would copy this account object. So what is the apex colon page? So that's actually syntax. I know it's a namespace we call it as apex colon. Everywhere you could say the same. What is that? Apex colon. Everywhere you could the same. They are something that the namespaces for the Visualforce page. Always the tag starting one should have page. So that should be the first tag. Like how in HTML we have um, HTML as a first line, right? And they should have a proper ending tag to it. The same way we are having written Apex pages here. So here also you mentioned few things like so few attributes they'll come in picture. Oh yes, this HTML is of doc type or something. We pass it on the very beginning line. So same way here also the Apex page has few params or attributes to pass. So where we say it's a standard controller or we say it's a custom controller. Look at this. So when I indicate this, this is absolutely custom controller. What do you mean by custom controller? Absolutely, you're writing everything as new from scratch. Now we can't write here account. Because you said that you're writing a custom controller. That means you have to build it from scratch. So the pain of the custom controller is you have to build everything from scratch. Scratch means what? You have to write a save, edit, delete, every each and every method that you have to handle with. So when you go to this custom development, so absolutely when you're not okay with the existing feature, then you go to the custom controller. Okay, so we have still a couple of more tags also we have. We'll see them. These are all displayed for the UI purpose. So I have used their standard control record account. Now, if you remember the HTML form, so we need to have a form and we need to have fields in order to achieve this. Visit UI. But this looks like some restaurant number we pass and then we fetch the customers. Where development, I think this type of development I said would be used by the other third party guys because we are exposing service to fetch the restaurant number. So like say .NET or a Java guy, they have to build this UI. But we are showing that something that from Salesforce also we can build all the times that we are not the exposer. Someone would expose and we also may sometimes request the service and get the results. Assume like this, we are trying to hit a request and service, we are getting it back. So standard control is this, and then, so let's write a simple snippets um, in order to save few records. I would just write apex colon form. Form is the one first indicates where you're trying to send something in your UI box. And then apex colon page block is the one which is important. Something like you are trying to create a block. Either the block we can have fields. So I mean, these are all the classic development guys. So I can open up a classic development and show you. So in the classic development, wherever you go, let me try to cut some dummy record here. Yeah, but this itself is a good example. So where you say this is a page block title, so which object the page block title value we're giving it here, and so this is a block page block table we say. So this is a page block section like system information composition is all page block sections. Under that you can have each fields and then values they've been mentioned here. So this completely talks about the Visualforce development UI only, but actually they are layout. With standard layout only they have like this because layouts are built into the VF pages. You see, right? The standard Salesforce out of the box which have layouts. If you go to any here, mm, yeah. If you go to page load share and the page load stack load, we see it, right? Actually, this type of UI is all built in the VF page only, where you drag and drop name, header, section. So these all things are built in the VF page only. And they named as layouts. So likewise, I'm telling you. So when the UI at the time they were trying to display all, they were displaying like this. Let me save this. See? So this is position and then composition, all they have section type. So when you can see is when you, the moment you click on edit, you can see the VF page type of structure. So I'll bring it up something like this. You see it. So I don't write any code. I don't write any layout specific things. But yeah, let's come back to here. So I would write page block. Yeah. So page block, you can have a title inside. So this. So in the page block, we say it as account UI. Now let's save this and close this. See the account UI, it's displaying. It started to display the as way that we are displaying this. So page block section, and page block section item. Section item is the one which we wanted to have. Okay, let me copy this. So you can write a code here, or you can write a code here. Also, this works fine. You click pages here. This is we are trying to do in develop console. So maybe this is not loaded. So just click on file, open, and then pages, account VF page. So Control A, Shift Tab. So self-aligned. So this is not happening there. Okay. Section, something is this is the section which you see. System information. So let's copy that. Simply put it off. Look at this, guys. System information. So just picture of something like this, So of course, if you have been moving to Lightning experience, look at this. Look at this. So somewhat similar to this. Is there?
Yeah, I'm there. Sorry.
Okay. So page block section we have, page block section item. So here, so in this case, we're not using any of the specific logical controller we didn't write here so far. So I would say apex colon.
So we need to manually do all these things, or you get put a drag and drop and put everything in, so
No,
it will generate.
we don't have that option here. Sorry.
Oh,
So input field. So in input field, you give us the value. So we have to mention it something like this. Yeah, dealing with account object dot. So name, account name it is. Look at this. The small boxes will come. So when you try to create an account, right, there's a box for the account name is very important. That's a required field. So just bought the account name here, but we don't give any title to this, right? So I have a label there. You can simply say account name. So simply this like an input field we have, we got this, but the label is not working out. It's okay. So what I do is I would try to open another section, page block section item. So where I write here, apex colon, output label. So in this I say account name. Did you get this? So account name one side and the name other side. If you want to still string it up to here, if you do, okay, put them in both in one layout. I mean, one section item can have two tags you can have. For example, the same way you can have it for account number. Now you got this. So this is something similar to this, right? Push and title, you have box, and then you have a field, and then you have box. Something like similar, right?
Yeah.
So we are not writing a single controller for this. It's all existing thing. We are trying to use it by using this simple tags. Now I wanted to have a button, custom button where we say, like how you see here, save new, all these methods. Of course, I can call them save method and cancel. I can bring them. Look what even that I'll do. Um, Page block section item. So page block section I've button. So here I'm trying to brand it as apex colon command button. And the command button, I need to choose some action. First, let's select value. So value, I would say this is save. And what is an action that you want to do it? So here you're seeing that I wanted to perform save action. Same way you want it to have. Look at this, save and cancel. So how this is getting save and cancel here? So if you just go back to our object, go to object manager for account. If you go to the buttons and link and action, yes, you need to have save option there. Save method there should be. So new, which indicates I think it is a save operation. So like these existing default methods we have, right? So they are comes under the building and what I say actions. Standard page. On edit, you open the standard page. On view, open the standard page. On a new, you try to get a standard page. I can rename them. So now return a VF page, right? Like, look at this. I would try to do it. New standard page. For lightning experience, you can override with. We have lightning component. No. On a classic, we can override with Visualforce page. Look at this account VF page. We got it here. If I go to a classic experience, if I go to classic experience, if I just click on this tab, and if I go to accounts, okay, let me move to classic, then I show you. If you go to classic, if you go to accounts, if I go click on the new, so what it has, so it is choosing a record here, account type. So account name and account number, what we are having in this UI, correct? So now, so this is an existing standard page. Salesforce has been given out of box to us. Now I can replace this with RVF page. So let's do that for a classic. How to do it now? So go to this. We were trying to configure. Yeah. So I say in the Salesforce classic, override with this wave page. We can change it in time, no problem. So if you go to buttons and link sections on the new, it has been our VF page is the one who is now new creator for the record there. So go back, just continue with this. Look at this changed. Now no more the out of box account page they have. Now something that what we created that has been the page has been replaced here. So likewise, this VF page could be replaced for the existing functionality which they have altogether new, or something that we also can have a page centered development from one page to another page we can navigate without the use of this UI, whatever we're doing it here. Is green? And of course we can try it out them. So test account VF account number, you can give random number, I can save it. It acts like a normal no redirection, everything takes place. See the record how to be created, it's landing to the right page. So how do the save happen? So if you see the controllers here, I just put account. But default, they have a logic inside this account object. Not only for the standard like account, custom object also it works out the same way. So I didn't write any, I didn't call the account dot name, I didn't call the account dot number in some some class, and I pull them here. It talks absolutely about how we are dealing with the existing functionality. Just call that object name dot field name. That's more than enough. So by doing section and then you're trying to call the individual fields with apex colon input field. So advantage of input field is it's like just queries or utilize how the data type in the UI was the same way to tries to use it here. So it doesn't manipulate whatever the account data type it what it is a text, right? Same it brings up. So tomorrow it is a date field, it will open like just like a date. Why? Because you are using the how a field has been used data type at the same time we are using it. So we use the input field for this. Sometimes if it is a flat HTML text, so you may use its apex colon input text. So that is something the input is coming from outside the world. But even use input field, it is all referring to this particular object. There are field for it, like name, account number, some custom APC field, anything it could be. And any standard functions like you can call like this apex colon command button. If it is a link based links, you can have a command link. So we can make this link button itself as a link also. Still it works. I mean, both are not that great different. We can get them as required. Look at the save cancel. So it's just like the approach that we wanted to use it. So this is absolutely talking about standard controller. Extension would be for this same method. I don't allow you to go click on save instantly. Where I try to verify your features, what is there. Only then I allow you to be an extension guy, where you can override the same method here. Now people talks about custom controller. That means the whole UI would be something similar only, but you can't write this account.name something like this. So whatever the in controller class you have written object, so that object name dot you have to specify like this. So when you compare to the extension or a custom controller, yes, of course, we have to write extensive code. So that code indicates how do we call. So now let's write a quick extension class for this. I just try to override the same method here and let's see how it works. So this same method we are trying to override the what existing account we had. Let's quickly do that. So I say account extension. So in order to have an extension class, we need to have a constructor which is written, and that constructor return should be followed properly. So if I say this is an extension controller, so I need to have one things to be written here. Same. So you would be using Apex pages here as a controller class. Okay. Let's see Apex pages dot. So this Apex pages dot standard controller indicates something that we are trying to call few features of the standard control extensions. So what is the class name that we have? So we can have a single param constructor, we can have it. So copy this. Now we're looking at this, how to get to know. It's a extension class. Simple. You will be able to see one argument constructor with apex page start standard controller. Correct. So if you found this apex page standard controller as a one argument constructor, then absolutely they are extension class. For example, public constructor name will be same as the class name. Public class name, and inside this you would define your apex page start standard controller. So standard controller is a variable, something that you set to. Now this indicates you are an extension controller. See. Now you forget to write this, but you forget to write this, but still you are making this particular class as a extension class. Okay. A simple class we have extension class. So let's copy this extension class, come here, and I'm writing here extension. So while I'm saving this, it says was you written this as an extension class, but I am unable to find out where there have no class name, doesn't have any single argument with apex page standard controller when you invoked. So then I don't say that this guy is a standard extension controller. What I'm identifying in this particular class, you should have a constructor should have the apex pages or standard controller should be invoked, but they are not having it. So that is the reason I'm not allowing them to be an extension controller. So go create this method, they're saying it. But in idle way, if the original page we are having it. If you do the same in the VF page, let me go to Visualforce pages, edit. So let's assume we are bringing up some extension here. The same I'm doing it here. It asks me a question saying that, hey, there's no constructor is found. Should I create for you? So the moment I click on this, it is creating an extension controller for us. Now VF itself is created such method for us. So look at, I'm gonna refresh this. So this is at the very beginning didn't allow. Now I've commented this, right? So let me refresh this whole controller now. I mean, VF page is itself created for us. So open. Class. Let me see account as extension class. Yeah. Look at this, but this itself created for us. This is which I created. And if you go to a Visualforce page and you say that, and you mention some class without mentioning that guy has a extension control you have just given there, but still it asks me a question, do you want it to create? I said yes. Look at this, it created for me. So this is how it identifies. This is how even the VF page identifies. So I would say here, created this no constructor via VF page. Automate mode. Like generate constructor on this extension. So you would remember this. How do we generate this? See, same thing. I think I'm doing it. I'm just giving my own name and then doing the stuff. And look at this. It's created the same thing. So any questions, guys here?
No, good. Yeah.
So now what we have to do is, while we're trying to deal with the such controller, so we are not focused on what type of an object that you're sending it or what you're doing it. These controllers, standard controller, whatever you're having it, right? So it will hold the value of the UI page that we are entering here. It will hold the value of what are the values you're entering here. It will hold it. For example, if I try to create a new account, uh, if you just go here and click on a new account, so you're doing this way, right? Of course, we have page. If it's a normal controller, so I'm saying how you are giving the value. So this value is all been pushed to standard controller, standard extension controls pushed. So that will hold. I mean, this particular variable will hold those values. Why? Because from pages, whatever the values you brought it, it is holding here. So now how do we do this? So this controller will hold. That particular controller will hold. Simply we have to say the controller name dot get record. So the moment I do a get record, irrespective of the object that we're sending from there we bring it up. So the whole values which you pass here, it has all been captured here. Control, and then from there we try to get it the get record. So sometimes what happens, this control is actually getting the such which object we don't know. So we have to carefully handle them, saying that yes, you are an account object. We're typecasting back to our respective format, and you can have mentioned here public account. We use getter setter where account object is the one which we are trying to assign it. Account object is equal to this. So why we wanted to do this, if you see the values which is coming in from the UI page, it has been saved to this particular guy. So if you still have an assignment issues, you can say this dot account object. If you say it is aligned to this. So why we want to have a getter setters, if you say, so that will hold the value of the current context. Okay, till now we have written extension, we have assigned this to here. Now where did we write a controller? I mean, where we written overriding of an extension method?
So get and set you told to hold, right? What is, I mean, get is,
Get
what
is
is
for
get?
get is for the read operations, set is for the write operations.
Okay, got it.
So sometimes when you wanted to show in the UI to read a record, so use get.
Okay,
Sometimes you want to set some value from the
save,
VFPS
save the
table.
value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are putting it both here is yes, of course I can do either of the operations. So we're just putting it as get and set. On the load of the page only you want something. So we have to specifically write this logic here. So that time we don't put semicolon here. We open up the logic and say and specifically write like list of account something. I'm just saying that on a load of the account you wanted to read data, show data something. So we go to individually we write some logic like this. If you don't have anything, just simply just say get and set. So we may use any of these other operations. So public page reference we have. Page reference is something that it's a written type, like how we have say public string something, right? Like the page reference is also a written type where it reference move from one direction, one page to another page. Like how do we do a redirection? So with the help of the page reference only do it. So now public page reference, I'm gonna say it as save. So you're absolutely overriding the save features of this Apex class. Getting? Now look at this. So this object, right? So object is a one record actually filling, not you're not dealing with the 10 records. If this object name dot account number double equal to null, so I'm just saying that. So this same method over operation. See, currently what we have is this is not a required field. You give some test A, B, C, if it is creating a record, isn't it? So account number I didn't do anything, but still the record is getting created. I want to have some control on my save operations. When I give a value here, I don't give a value. You should stop me there, boss. Give some value there. All right. So I want to stop this. If you don't give any value, I should say that please enter the value. I know we can do from the UI. Hey, go make it as a field as a required field. But from a controller, I'm just controlling the save operation specifically. I won't allow you to save it. So that means I've extended the feature of save. So the purpose I'm just writing the code here. Okay. So page references will have a return type of page reference only. So where we say at that particular time, so what do you want to return them? So let's say page reference or yeah, reference is equal to new page reference. So in this you can mention what you're trying to pass it out. Okay. So I was saying that if account object dot number is double equal to null or the value this way. So I'm saying return null. So why I want to say return null? Because you're saying that your page reference value if it is double equal to null, I will return null. Sales, what are you going to do it? So the reference that we're sending it out here, see, we should have a positive statement. We have to have a negative statement. In the positive, we didn't redirect properly if we have this value. If we don't have the value, we are putting it as return null. Return null means what? Stay back in this same page. Do not redirect. That indicates the return null. Now, if all the values have been perfect, go to the respective record page. Okay. So save, I'm saying it here. So you are completely taking the control of save method. Else. So okay, line number 15, what it is here. Let's quickly see. Missing return statement for page reference. Yeah, that is what we're doing is. So page reference ref dot set redirect. We are saying it should be true. So we are accepting to redirect them and then return ref. This variable, whatever I created, I'm just moving them. Okay, we can bring it up this also here. At the very beginning, if you're saying that, okay, boss, I am saying that the account number is null and I'm returning null here. If it is true, so then I'm referencing this page. So of course, then some record has been created here, I assume it. If this is all followed, in else portion, I would expect that the record will be created. So slash plus, which is record that account object, right? So a record will be created here. So I'm just navigating to the slash of the account ID. See the record which is created here. So the moment I click on a save, the record will be created, right? So move on to the so exchange. I mean, what are the URL slash the ID? So move to that I'm saying. And yes, I'm saying true. You redirect or return to this particular guy where the page has to land it to. I'm saying this. So was the record created? Redirect to the ID of the page. Passed in the URL. Actually, this all goes in the URL. So this indicates what? Slash indicates entire this base URL and slash then followed by your record ID here. It will be placed here. So base URL slash your record ID. So that will eventually land to the respective page and open the record there. So that is what the expectation. And you're setting that to be true. Yes, I wanted to redirect. And this is holding the return value of this. The whole URLs base URL slash this record ID. If you have done any issues, then you're doing this. If not, you're saying that return null. Of course, you can have Apex messages mirror there. Apex messages. So you can use Apex page messages. How to set in controller? So let's quickly see this. I think they'll show you. So best thing is you have to have a Visualforce developer guide. You can open it up, or so like this link will indicate, or the overall will should indicate how do you trying to deal with the calling a controller, standard controllers. All we have an options here. So in order to learn the Visualforce, so just go to this get developer guide. So we have a page block messages, all this we have. I want to have where the messages. Apex page dot current page dot get ready. This is not required. I want to have a proper out message of that. Yeah, something like this. I wanted to have my custom message to be thrown up here. So you see, you should see them in the so that is specifically why it got cancelled or where it should be thrown. So I would give that messages here only. With output label is there, so I'm just throwing up that record there only. Will it allow me to save? Look at this page section items may have only two, more than two is not allowed. Page block section had output label input field, so that's reason it didn't allow. So let me put this here and at the top level of the error. Okay. Something from here I need to send the error, and I should say this was to not go anywhere, return there, and then show the error to the people. Okay, anyway. So this type of error message you want to do get custom. So we just go add that particular single line. See, this guy is also doing the same. So they are checking with, this is something like public void save account. I think they are doing with the custom controller, completely a new logic. Extension, okay. Oh, but we are using the page reference. Suppose this, I wanted to redirect to some location. I don't want to stay back there only. I want to move from one page to another page. That's my motive. Public void method, so many things you guys seen, but I wanted to have a page reference to deal with. So I think this is good enough. What is that? Okay, this is directly saying the same. I'm seeing the site now. Anyways, they also trying to do the same activity. So object number not equal to null, and then you're returning it. I want to put this here, saying that please enter the account number. Very good. Else, I'm saying that if you are past this, what I'm doing is I'm redirecting the right page where you wanted to land through. But whereas in this example, so they don't have such. They are simply saying void and returning in the same page. Absolutely, after record is getting saved, you have to move it out from that location. Or if you have any other page to redirect after saving an account, go create no contact. I should say that to you. So for that, if you have redirection saying that here, go to a contact page / contact page, you write it here. So that way I landed to a contact page, right? So redirection should be there because we said it is a page centric development. You have to move from one page to another page on clicking on some activity. I said here after you save successfully, land to the detail page of the account. I don't want to go anywhere else. Okay, perfect. There we go. So I'll tell you one more thing also. So first let's save this and then do up the activity. Let's come to an account here. I refresh this window. This is not marked as required, but I'm giving test account here. Look at this. So the moment I just give this and do not give any account number, it is throwing from the controller. So we are controlling from the controller logic. Please enter the number, and we say it is an error. How do you got this? So we have manual return apex page add message. Go through this error message we're seeing there. We can have our own error messages here. So that error message indicates about. So we are trying to absolutely control the same method. See, the meaning of extension is what you have to override some method. You save, edit, delete, whatever you do, you're trying to override the method. So where's the control that you written? Sorry, logic of UI. So simple, this save option only. Absolutely, this is all having the same. We're not trying to do anything. We just override the method of save. Like parent class save, we try to override. And the moment you try to override, so we just call this. Who has this value? This controller dot get record is holding the current context of the value. And we put into an assignment of this dummy object here for a placeholder, and we are checking them. Hey, your number is null or not. If null, throw this message, else you pass on to this record. Now look at this, we gonna give a value here. Yeah, test account page reference from there I saved. It navigates to the null. But let me check whether the record is created or not. Okay, so shall we do this? Insert, because we are taking the control of the account, and insert this object. And post that inserting the record, you would just get object.id. So maybe that's the reason. So let's repeat the same. So this time, ABC page ref. And just give me 1, 2, 3, 4. Save it. Yes. So we didn't have an options of insert. So we have to insert the record only, then we get an ID, and then ID we're passing here. So this we missed out. So because we have overwritten the complete of the same method, yes, of course you have to deal with the save also. If you're stopping them, or else you should be able to insert them also. Yeah. So what I want to do is now I wanted to not go to the object ID, or you go to the object ID, whatever you wanted it. Yeah, I wanted something control here. So what is the VF page name that we have written? Account VF, right? So that to Apex class account VF. Question mark ID is equal to. Look at this. So now I'm trying to redirect a page where I wanted to send the account page, the custom page what we created, and then ID, I'm passing the record which you wanted to pass it out. So these I'm gonna keep it in the front now. So the moment you save a record, now altogether I'm moving to the custom page of me, which we created here, not going to the standard outlet of how the page after saving a record it went to here, where it went to a detailed record, where you can say something that like this it went, right? So I don't want it to go like this now, but I wanted to go to my custom page. So that's a powerful of redirection. I said, how do you go from one page to another page? So this is how we do it. Let's say you've written some other XYZ page. So question mark ID is equal to the ID which generates. So try to open up them here. If you're absolutely doing a read operation, yes, of course I can have a new page for that. So the whole bunch you can copy. So the account VF page, entire thing I'm going to copy. But I'm making them to a read mode. It's all our wish. To the same page you wanted to say that edit, you're going to go to the edit. You're going to do a read, only going to do the read. So I say that account read page. Okay. So in the read page, we don't have all these buttons, right? Save, cancel, done. So take out this. So why we have this still input box? Because we have written a input field. Input field is 10 to write a text there. So where instead of this, you write output field. Just displays the value. Now come to this developer console. Instead of account via page, which is like creation of the record we do there, just write their account read here. That's it. Now let's go to the VF page of this, and then so somewhere I had this. So account VF pages. So this is a page which we're trying to do it, right? So ABC create account. So this I'm just creating new account. Suppose this it should land to me the page where it should go to the account read page. See one page to another page, how I'm redirecting. Save. So on a save of the record, it taken me to the account read page, and that page is this. So we are reading the record here. Oh, sorry for this. Output field is not properly here. So come back to the Visualforce page. Oh, sorry for this. There should be a slash here. I mean, properly save. Look at this. So you created the record from there, and you're viewing the record here. This is how in the past they had it. The pages, couple of pages they had it. So you create a record, you show a custom UI page to read, and then you may have a button to go cancel or whatever you do. So all this they were playing with this way. And absolutely, we are all overriding till now with the standard and standard extension controllers. When I say custom, so completely we're gonna write new stuff there, and then we deal with them. I think tomorrow I'll spend some half an hour there to write some custom logic and to get this UI and fetch the record in real time. So there we're good with the custom controller there. Any questions, guys?
Not
No, good. So can you show me that? So you created a new read class, right? That's it.
Read page.
Read page.
This the read VF page I did it, and I'm passing this ID dynamically so that the ID you pass dynamically, which comes into this particular page, and then it's reading directly here.
Okay.
So you can give irrespective of different ID, it will pass it here. Now you have a questioner saying that I don't want to pass an ID here in the URL. Still, you can have some other methods to pass them. So you can just Google and check it out. I don't want it to pass my ID in the URL of a VF page. How do I handle them? So something called as params we have. So we can pass very securely and then get this IDs also here. Or
Okay.
you can do an encrypt of this ID, and only the encryption the page does read it, so you cannot even read what ID has been going through there. So they are next steps advanced and we can use it. So why I'm going to explain these VF pages, because maybe if you go in a project where people are already using a VF page, at least some one or two component, you can at least have an idea of what it's doing and how it is doing. What is standard and extension controller, what is custom and extension controller doing it. So majority they have moved to the Lightning or to LWC, but still
Oh,
few options is still pending if you think or left out over. At least by reading the code, you can understand okay what these guys are trying to do it. But
okay. Yeah, that maybe old some people still support.
yeah, still yeah, we can have these VFH stuff still. But any projects that is something that they are building right now newly, so they are not all focusing on this areas.
Oh, okay.
This is something that we are putting to use because if you show that 5 years or 10 years experience, something that you have it. Um, of course, you need to have all these basic fundamentals in your tips. That way, at least we know how we can answer to them if they have asked a question to you. You can tell to them, yes, of course, I've worked on so and so area. So they don't dive in too much of this because this is not a feature. So they don't ask too many questions here. So they may have a questions in the LWC on the other side. So we'll first majority on that side. So tomorrow after I'll be at least I'll quickly maybe I would try to develop a scenario and then same UI stuff and I can show it out. But this is all because we want to show how it is working. So now you got an idea how we're moving from one page to another page, how we're getting it, all that is on. So let me create a sample custom controller page and then tomorrow just explain over the code how I'm doing it. It will not be different from this. It will be same as very quite similar to this only. But what we're doing is how we use in the restaurant expose all zip code. How do we use go get the API and send pass on the few params to the third service and the service would display some results back to you. And that I wanted to show in the UI. So maybe I'll when I finish, I will be ready with the code. And tomorrow I'll explain over that. I'll spend at least 30 minutes for this. So then we'll move on to the basic of Aura or whatever. Okay. So
Okay.
if you start with the Aura and spend again 2 or 3 days there, so then we are good an amount of times to spend on the LWC side. At least 3 days we require for LWC to cover up
Okay.
like how be it like 2 years experience of LWC guy would look like. So we have to learn there. So that is our ultimate goal of an advanced class. If you reach to LWC and the integration, all this, so yes, we can probably say that yes, of course, I gone to the few topics. And one day we'll spend on, so I will again configure the CPQ and other ABC systems, whatever we have. So I'll give a quick review on that also. So how do you know how the flow is, all that I'll explain to you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, all guys. Thank you.